Now, let's turn our attention to the weekend's Gaelic football action. I'm delighted to say COLM BOYLE is with us. COLM, good morning to you.
Morning, lads. How are you?
It seems a little bit early in the year for us to be talking about Galway Mayo, but here we are. What are the levels of excitement like where you are at the moment about the game this weekend?
Yeah, well, it's been one we've been all talking about, should I say, even throughout every league game. We've referenced April 24th. This is what it's all about. This is what they're all building on or towards. I think it's been the same for both counties throughout the league. So the last 3 weeks have gone by probably a bit slowly, and here we are. We're ready to go. Yeah, no, things are building nicely. The atmosphere is building, you could say. The anticipation is building, and all the talk from the kind of Mayo side is who's available. And I suppose that's probably the most frustrating thing about not being a player anymore, is that I simply don't know or don't know for sure who's available for this weekend or not, from a Mayo point of view and even from a Galway point of view. So yeah, it's strange in that way, yeah, but no, it's looking now to look forward to, definitely.
The big debate on the football pod this week, Paddy Andrews is like, you start Killian. If he's fit for half an hour, you start him, because the game could be over. They could win the game in that first half hour. James O'Donoghue was like, no. You bring him off the bench. Think of how mad the crowd will go when Killian is there doing his little warm up on the sideline, and it's like, yeah, come on. And I'm like, I see both sides of this. I don't know how to make that decision.
Yeah, look, at my gut is that he won't start, and again, that's not going on Anthony. I know it's just that he's come back from a horrific injury. Nobody knows how the last 3 weeks have gone from. Okay, he played the last 20 minutes against Kerry. My gut is that it's going to be James Carr, Jason Doherty and Ryan O'Donoghue in an inside three, and Carr and Doherty in particular are going to be told, eat into yourself for 45 minutes, and Killian's coming in then to finish the job, hopefully, from a Mayo point of view. That's my gut. I could be wrong. I'd love to see Killian start, but I just don't. I think it could be too early in that process yet. You saw Tyrone last year with Colm McShane after coming back from a really, really serious injury, how they held him in reserve and how it worked for them, you'd have to say, throughout the championship. But definitely, with this being so early, still in his comeback, I think more than likely we're going to see an impact off the bench from Killian.
The McShane comparison is really interesting, because it did feel last year, as soon as he got one game, it was like, well, he's going to be a starter now because he's Colm McShane. And actually, they were smart about it. And one of them, the All-Ireland, I guess, in the end, certainly got him out of a few tricky situations on the way. So could that actually be the future for Killian O'Connor this year, if they get through this weekend and he's managing to make a huge impact for half an hour or whatever it may be?
Exactly, and look, you mentioned Carl there, like nobody knows, like Colm McShane was coming on, I think Cavan was first game they played last year and he played 25 minutes. You just don't know, he might have been able to train for a week after that, he could have been sore, and that could have been the kind of routine all the way through the championship, and you just don't know with lads coming back from injuries, because they have to be minded, because it's not even just the injury itself, it's every other part of the body, and I kind of know that myself from coming back from injury. It's everything else that nearly starts to ache and get sore from that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like, hopefully the last 3 weeks, as I said, have gone really well for him, and that'll leave him in a good place coming into Sunday. And again, if he starts, I'd love to see it, but I think more than likely we're going to see that, as Ger mentioned there, that war, maybe 25 minutes to go, that he's going off the pitch.
There's obviously been a lot of talk about Mayo and how much to read into their league final performance at the end. I think the consensus is that you can't really read too much into it. What about Galway on the same day? Beaten, took a late lead and ended up surrendering it again against Roscommon. Did they go a little bit more all out against Roscommon that day than Mayo did against Kerry?
It's very hard to know. I was at that game. It was such a flat game. It was so flat, like similar, I suppose, to Division 1 final. It's so hard to know how really hard they went for it, or how hard, should I say, training had been in a couple of weeks up to that. I think the one game, if I was James Horan, I was looking at Galway, the one game I'd probably look at in more detail would be the Derry game up there, because it was a game they really, really had to win, and it was a game they were on the road, obviously. And they were really, really good that day. Now, it was poor conditions, it was tough conditions, but I was shocked how poor they made Derry look. A Derry team that a lot of people were talking about as potential Ulster contenders. So that's probably the game I'd nearly take more heat to. I'm not sure in the two Roscommon games after that how much. Certainly the following week was a dead rubber for Galway, and even the league final, again, I'm not sure how much you can read into, even though I think obviously a game that Portugal would have preferred to win. But if I was looking at Anton, I'd nearly be looking more at that Derry game and how really ruthlessly they went about dismantling Derry in that first half. The game was over at half time.
From a defensive matchup perspective, what do you do with Shane Walsh, and what do you think will happen?
What do I think will happen? Well, normally Shane Walsh against Mayo over the last number of years, he plays that bit deeper rather than playing in a centre forward position or in the half forward line. He usually plays as one of the two inside, or a third man just coming slightly deeper, maybe to the top of the D. I think that's more, he knows it's going to be a Lee Keegan, it's going to be a Paddy Durcan normally picking him up, so it's the manager or whoever it is generally protecting him, going back the pitch and making it that bit harder for the man picking it up, and maybe getting defenders like Paddy Durcan into situations where they're probably more comfortable out the pitch. Again, look, I talked about injuries are on. I don't know who's going to play on Sunday. I don't know if Paddy Durcan is fit, if Oisin Mullins is fit. If everyone is fit, I think it probably will be Oisin that picks him up. And like I said, I think Walsh and Comer more likely will line up inside together as a two. And what I can see happening is Galway trying to flood bodies back, trying to frustrate Mayo more so than they would have done over the last 2 years. I don't think he's going to want to take them on in a kind of head-to-head battle in a nearly tennis match up and down the pitch, because I don't think Galway have the middle third players to match Mayo if Mayo have everyone fit in that regards, definitely from a physical point of view and an athletic point of view. So I think he'll try and create that space for the likes of Walsh and Comer by filtering a load of players back, looking to frustrate Mayo, and if they get turnovers on them, 2 or 3 quick kick passes into the space inside, something like you would have seen Kerry have got the space. That's something they'll be looking to create definitely on Sunday.
It's obviously a new championship structure with the Tailteann Cup, and going through the back door is not going to be the safe passage that it has been for teams in recent years. There's no gimmies, there's no kind of warm-up matches, there's nothing against the Division 4 team who like half their players have gone to America. It's going to be against a good quality Division 2 team if you lose this, potentially, or maybe one of the best teams in Ulster, who knows. Like, it's Tyrone or Donegal will be floating around that draw when it gets made. As a result of that, this game has quite a lot on it. It's not like one of those games you can go, we'll be grand, we'll go through the back door and we'll lick our wounds, we'll be fine. So with that in mind, does that change anyway the thinking, the arithmetic and how you go for this, or is that to be parked entirely and the game needs to take on its own life?
Yeah, I think you just need to park it. I think you just need to treat it as it's been the last 2 years that it's knocked out, and you just have to simply go for it. Like I said, from a Mayo point of view, the qualifiers, it's you lose against Galway, and like you said, you could be playing Armagh, you could be playing a Tyrone, or, a Derry, someone like that from Ulster, a really tough team from Ulster. So it's somewhere you don't want to be. But otherwise, you get that win on Sunday, you're into a kind of final. You're one step away from an Ireland quarter final and being back in Croke Park and an Ireland series. So that's a huge prize on offer for both teams on Sunday. And it's the same for Galway. Obviously, I think for Galway, for Paul Joyce, third year in charge now, he's looking for that one big win. He's been waiting for it the last couple of years. It hasn't come yet, so there is huge pressure on him, obviously, and on this Galway team coming to Castlebar on Sunday. But look, with it being in Castlebar, with it being away from home, might actually suit them. Might actually take a bit of pressure on them, put a bit more focus on Mayo, and look, they've been looking to come down. I think the last 2 times they came to Castlebar, 16 and 18. I think they won on both occasions. So look, they have a good record in the last couple of years there, and they'll be looking to take that into Sunday.
Are you worried?
I honestly, Jar, I think it's a 50-50 game. I really do. I don't think it's any more than that on either side. And that's not me talking Mayo down or talking Galway up. I just generally think that's the way it is when you take into the fact it's so early in the year. Like, people will reference the game in Croke Park last year as a bit of a gap between both teams. Like, it's a world apart from that April in McHale Park. It's a world apart from a roasting hot day in July in Croke Park. It'll be a completely different game. And even in that game itself, Galway, were the better team for 35-40 minutes. And Mayo, it was only really from the 50th minute on that Mayo got in front. And people probably look at that game a lot differently than it actually was. So to me, it's a 50-50 game. It's going to come down the stretch, and I'm hoping a Mayo bench with the likes of Killian O'Connor, with the likes of Kevin McLaughlin possibly coming off that may be enough to put it in Mayo's favour.
How did playing Galway in the 2018 era under Kevin Walsh differ to playing them under Pádraig Joyce?
I think it's kind of what I've already said with regards Walsh generally set up defensive, and it worked very well for them against us. I don't think it did much for them after that in regards against other teams, but against us, it frustrated us, there's no doubt about it. And I can see, as much as Pádraig Joyce doesn't want to go into that kind of area where he's getting a load of bodies back behind the ball, I think that's what's going to happen on Sunday. I think if he looks at Mayo's league performances against the likes of, even in Armagh, which they bet, Armagh were very defensive, frustrated Mayo for long periods of the game. Tyrone, same thing, frustrated them for long periods of the game. I think that's what Pádraig is going to be looking at, and taking little things from Kevin Walsh's game plans. Like, they used to concede the kick out an awful lot against us. They used to let us have our own kick out, let us carry it out to maybe halfway, and then start to put pressure on us. It'll be very interesting to see, especially with more than likely Rory Byrne on Sunday. Will they try and target him? Will they try and go press high for kickouts, or will they be letting Mayo have the ball, letting it carry it out to a certain point, and then putting the pressure on, looking to frustrate and looking to turn over then? So, yeah, look at it. It's Pádraig generally has been more, should we say, attacking, a bit more open in the way they play. And look, they've had varying degrees of success. The one thing I would say is that obviously with Bournemouth, they haven't once, we've beaten them the last 2 years. They hadn't had a chance then to gather themselves and go forward into the qualifier. So you would be expecting to see definitely a longer run in the championship for Galway this year, either way, regardless of the result on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the game hinged. Mayo obviously were excellent in the second half and kind of gave a full expression to their true identity. But at the same time, there were fairly significant injuries for Galway in that first 40 minutes as well that maybe are underrated when it comes to us looking back. And the previous years, as Owen has said on the show this week already, there was a point in it basically in the howling conditions in winter time for that championship, and if Galway had won that, they would have ended up playing Tipperary in an All-Ireland semi-final. So I'd say when Pádraig Joyce as a manager goes to bed, his nightmares are all about this Mayo team. So their motivation is very, very strong, and as you've said, there's been times in the past where they've gone in as underdogs in this game and randomly just been able to beat you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, at Pádraig Joyce, he doesn't need to get any motivation to play Mayo. I'm sure it's a game he's going to be well up for. And obviously there's a Cian O'Neill factor there as well. Obviously Cian was with Mayo and with James for a year in particular back to 2012. Obviously he's now with Galway, so there's all that to factor in as well. And look, I think Galway are going to come down with the game plan, like I said, to really just look to ambush Mayo and to frustrate and to take their goal chances when they're on. I think that's the big thing. I think when there's a glint of a goal chance, they're going to go for it with Comer and Walsh or whatever else it may be. I think it'd be interesting to see does the likes of Rob Finnerty play. Will he sacrifice him for a nearly more defensive-minded player, and maybe hold the likes of Finnerty for the last 20 minutes? Because I don't think they've a huge amount of options from the bench at the minute. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But there's so many parents are looking at, and it's so hard to know. Like Sean Kelly, for me, is an absolute huge player for Galway. Where is he going to play? He played midfield the last 2 games. I'm just wondering, is Pádraig Joyce earmarking him to pick up Matty Rowan, who has been man of the match against Galway in the last 2 kind of finals? And I think he's the only player that would have the legs to go with Matty Rowan in a head-to-head battle. But I think he'd prefer to have him in an ideal world at 6 or 3, because I'm not sure how much he trusts his full back line. I think he'd prefer to have him at 3 or even at 6. But all these little things are going to be very interesting to see on Sunday.
And sure, look, it might start in one of those positions, and you end up in the middle of the game making decisions and changes that have a massive impact on the rest of your season. One last question: you named your full forward line, your expected full forward line, a little bit earlier on. Is Aidan O'Shea starting 11 for you?
Dependent, there's 2 things for me. Obviously, Jordan Flynn is a big injury doubt. If Jordan Flynn doesn't play, I would expect Aidan to play at midfield, and possibly the likes of Kevin McLaughlin or Killian O'Connor coming into an 11 position. If not, if Aidan doesn't play midfield, possibly looking at Diarmuid coming into midfield, Diarmuid O'Connor coming into midfield. But I have a feeling it's going to be Aidan going to midfield and possibly picking up Paul Conroy, looking to do a man-marking job on Paul Conroy and neglect his influence on the Galway team. Okay,
one last thing then. The suspensions that we've seen being lifted, as a player, are you paying attention to that's happening? So that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, what do you think of it now as somebody who is retired? We can see red cards, we can see suspensions, but they don't seem to mean anything at the moment.
If I look at, you would, if I was a player still playing and it was going on like the Donegal and Armagh situation at the minute, you would be paying attention to it, of course. You would, even though you're, as much as you'd be trying to tell people you're not, you're going to be looking in. And if I was a Donegal player this week, I'd be frustrated, to be honest with you. As an ex-player looking in, look at the whole suspension process in the GA and the appeals committee and whatever way it goes, look, it's a joke. I don't think anyone else is going to tell you another way. My first reaction when I heard about their Armagh players, and this is no disrespect to the Armagh players, because if I was in their scenario, I would be doing everything. I would be onto my manager and onto the county board doing everything I can to get me off. So this is not a go at them, but the whole, I just laughed when I kind of heard, because it's laughable. You know, what is a referee supposed to do when next time the league breaks out, whether it's at the end of the game or not? You know, why would you bother even giving out red cards or subsequently going after, you know, banning lads after what? Like, is there genuinely any point? Because they're going to get off. You know, when it comes to a stage where solicitors and barristers are picking out holes in referees' reports and video evidence and whatnot, I don't know where we're going with this, but it is. Look, we're going to see more of it. You're going to see more red cards. You'll probably see Conor McKenna getting off. You'll probably see more of this happening, and it's nothing new. There's been numerous examples over the years where boys have been getting off red cards, you know, blatant red cards through the years, and getting them off them, you know, even very, very close, up to very, very close to the game. So it's something. It's not nice. It's not nice to see in a game like this happened. 3 weeks ago now, and we're coming up to a couple of days for the game, and the three boys have been cleared to play. It's not good enough. And look, I don't know what the answer is or what the fix is, but our system at the minute is it's not up to scratch, to be honest with you.
Colm, good stuff. Enjoy the games. Thanks a million.
Thanks a million, lads.
It's Colm Boyle giving us some insight into what's going to happen between Mayo and Galway. Your quick picks are tomorrow, so you can give us a quick preview here.
It's Mayo -2. That's the line at the moment, and I think that's probably close enough to what I'd be thinking as well. The Jordan Flynn injury is a big one, I think. I think that's significant, and obviously the only information we've really got is how he looked in Croke Park that day, and it didn't look fantastic.
I remember the Mayo Kildare game, seeing Flynn Point. I was like, yes! And I was like, oh, balls, wrong Flynn. 3 Flyns.
Yeah, of course.
Wrong Flynn. Unfortunately, he's very good. Even better than ours at the moment. Right, this is OTB AM, brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. One last opportunity to enter our competition to celebrate the end of the race season at Punchestown Festival, and with thanks to Close Brothers, we have 2 pairs of tickets to give away for next week's festival. One lucky winner on tomorrow's show will have their tickets upgraded to include lunch for 2 and B&B at the Louis Fitzgerald Hotel with coach transfers to and from the racecourse. Who is this?
You know, not even 12 months ago that I was lucky enough to win a Grand National.
The reigning Tipperary Person of the Year. To be in with a chance of winning, just tell us who that is. Enter, text your guest to 087 9 180 180, tweet @OffTheBall or comment wherever you're watching.